Hello, this is the Spear, one of mine, which is a continuation from my very first one, the Hunter. Hopefully you'll see I've got a little bit better at it. The smokeless fire was a small incontinuity, invisible in the sunlight. Beneath the men, their shadows were black pits. Nothing else in the vicinity was large enough to throw a shadow at that time of day. The cousins had risen to a sky with the flat quality of dawn, and worked and talked since. Now the sun neared the meridian, and much still remained unsaid. The family had not assembled for months, and eager relatives would demand every detail of news. There was opportunity to talk. This task was no more onerous than any of the others they performed. Here nothing was easy, and one exploited every opportunity. Everything except talk was minimal and essential. Talk was the glue of family and community, and rarely minimal. The people had adapted to the dichotomy of the land. With such sparse resources, family and community were essential. But with such sparse resources, they must be spread out. The men walked out into the scrub across fine gravel and sand. It was crisscrossed with trails from lizards' tails. Still cold from the night, it stuck between their toes with the semblance of damp. Arachnids crept close to stones and stems, anticipating the coming storm of light. The acacia bush stood alone without yellow wattles. Sparse foliage starkly silhouetted against the blank sky. Leaves in pairs on stems. The cousins circled the bush, inspecting leaves, crushing them between finger and thumb, bending and breaking twigs, selecting the supple and springy side of the bush. A relative quality in a crisp, dry world. Then they turned their attention to the ground. A line of fine cracks revealed where parched had become desiccated. A root had been sucking the sparse deposit of dew from the barely damp ground night after uncalendared night. They dug, scraping the earth back with the timeless motion of seeking men and dogs. They discovered the route where it ran, about a hand's width beneath the surface. The sun progressed relentlessly up the sky. Toil exposed the root until a length longer than a man, was tall and thicker than his thumb, showed. Taking it from the ground, they cleaned it, pulling away bark in long strips with their teeth, slicing off stumps of side shoots with a precious, sharp sliver of flint. Then they built the fire. The trees of this fierce country protect themselves from drought by saturating their timber with resin and gum, which prevent evaporation. In prolonged drought, they drop great boughs and reduce their surface area. The materials for fire lay everywhere. The means to fire was also at hand. If two men sawed a woomera across a little tinder in a drought-cracked log, the tinder would catch, the gum-soaked log would light. But that was hard work in the heat, and they'd brought a fire stick from the night's ashes for this blowtorch of a fire. One cousin, the acknowledged expert, took the bent, twisted, stripped clean root and revolved it over the fire. Time and again he removed the steaming green wood from above the fire, and with the ball of his walk-hardened foot applied pressure on the heated wood between his hands. He worked for a long time. Sticks worked their way into the centre of the fire and were replaced by others that followed the same progress. The light was everywhere, always. The silence crept from their surroundings, loud between them. Much had been said now, and talk faded as concentration took over. Finally, one passed the other a dead straight stick, so he also could con it and confirm that judgment. They smiled in mutual satisfaction, knowing they were nearing completion. Talk sprang up again as they sharpened one end and hardened it in the fire. The other end was notched to fit the woomera. Between the two ends they ornamented the wood with marks of man and tribe. Now it belonged. A root had become a spear. Appropriate words were spoken. Things happened in a timely and orderly fashion. Signs showed success. The hard light was softened by the day's dust, and the evening sun progressed towards its nemesis. Next morning he left for his own country, carrying his spear, complete in his equipment, and filled with news. Top predator, commanded only by the land. Thank you.